Alright guys, in today's video we're going to be talking about the PlayStation 5 once again. We are more specifically going to be focusing on the fact that Sony has seemingly found a way to break the internet with something as simple as a controller reveal. And this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a little while, but I wanted to give the social media announcements a little bit of time to kind of peek and then just see where they're going to end up. And when you look at these numbers, there's absolutely no denying that the world is very, very excited for the PlayStation 5 and whatever Sony is going to be offering next generation. But it's not just gamers who are excited as well. It's also developers. We have a few developers that have chimed in, giving their thoughts or their opinion on the controller and some of the features, and it sounds very promising. So these are the things we're going to be talking about in this video. So if you could do me a favor, make sure you hit the like button if you enjoy the content, and make sure you hit the subscribe button as well so you don't miss any future content. But I'm sure as many of you are well aware, frequently here on the channel there is some significant pushback at times from a certain group of individuals, and the reason for this is because if you followed my channel for a long period of time, you'll know that we kind of shifted directions here, I guess, and I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about. And because of that, there's just a lot of people who don't like some things I have to say about PlayStation, and there's some people who don't like how enthusiastic I get about PlayStation. But I just want to take some time here to make everybody well aware of just how hyped people are for Sony's next generation console. Now I'm looking at Twitter, and the official tweet that Sony put out revealing the DualSense controller is currently sitting at 315,000 likes and 88.6 thousand retweets. Yeah, that's pretty insane, and that's just Twitter. If I look over here on Instagram, Sony's actually competing with themselves. If you remember back when they revealed the logo, we covered the fact that on Instagram, the simple logo reveal that everybody wanted to make fun of actually broke the record on Instagram for the most liked gaming post ever. And Sony is currently competing with themselves, where the DualSense post, the image of the DualSense anyway, on Instagram is currently sitting at 4.5 million likes. To put that in perspective, the PlayStation 5 logo reveal, which again broke records, is sitting at 5.3 million likes. Now, why am I highlighting this stuff? Is it to just rub it in people's faces? No, absolutely not. In fact, the reason why I'm highlighting this is because I just want to show people that even though maybe Sony, in the eyes of some people, has gotten off to a little bit of a rocky start with the Mark Cerny deep dive reveal, make no mistake here in thinking that the PlayStation 5, again, this is just the mentality that some people have, is not really going to do that well, or people are just not excited about it. Now, granted, there is a lot of time left for Sony to make some type of critical mistake if they are going to make one. However, I don't think they will, but it's important to pay attention to this because the excitement levels for Sony going into next gen are not diminished at all. Like, I know that maybe some people consider, again, Mark Cerny's deep dive reveal to be something that kind of destroyed the excitement for the PlayStation 5, but I don't think that's the case at all. I think that Sony just made the mistake, as I've already said, of kind of turning something that was meant to be for developers into something that they were trying to market a little bit. Granted, I think given the circumstances, it's completely understandable why they chose to do this. However, it just doesn't help the fact that a lot of people just simply didn't understand a lot of the stuff that Mark Cerny was explaining and talking about, and it took a little bit of time for people to kind of unpack it and really find a way to communicate this in a simpler way, which I've tried to do on my channel here. But yeah, there you go, guys. We have Sony just coming out here, dropping the controller, the DualSense PS5 controller reveal out of nowhere, and just breaking the internet, continually proving that the hype is there and it's not going anywhere. And to be honest, I don't think it's just hype for hype's sake. I don't think that people are just getting excited for no reason. I think, as I've covered in my previous videos, that what Sony is doing with the DualSense controller here is very awesome, and there's been a lot of comparisons to, from this controller to the Xbox Series controller, and frankly, I think it's pretty obvious in my opinion that what Sony is doing with the DualSense is definitely a step above what Microsoft is choosing to do with the Xbox Series controller. And one thing that I think was made pretty clear to me, and it should be made clear to many others as well, is that Sony going into next generation, they're not looking to iterate, they are looking to innovate in whatever way they can. We're not talking about Sony just kind of, doing what worked for them and kind of doing the same thing going into next generation. It sounds like they're really going to be trying to do things differently in some areas, and to me that's actually extremely exciting. In fact, I'd much rather see that than just see Sony come out and be like, yeah, here's the PS5 and we're having a really hard time differentiating it from the PS4, but we're afraid to deviate from our formula because we were so successful. To me that sounds just kind of boring. I'd much rather see them say, look, like we did what we did with the PS4, but we want to do some different things with the PS5. That's exciting to me. But moving on to what some developers have had to say about the DualSense controller, we have Pete Hines of Bethesda, and he actually tweeted about it, and he said, I've gotten to try the haptic feedback and adaptive triggers on this thing and was very impressed. I think games are going to do some really cool things with them. So Pete Hines is saying that he got to use the controller and he really likes the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback, and he's pretty much saying that he thinks games really are going to do some cool stuff with it, so that's cool. And he also talked about the feel of the controller, which is obviously a really important thing because none of us have actually gotten to try the controller out, so we want to hear what somebody thinks of it in comparison to the DualShock 4. And so somebody asked Pete Hines, does it feel different compared to the PS4 controller? And his answer was, you sort of immediately forget about a PS4 controller. I went back and forth between them, and you immediately just want to use the PS5. So that's pretty interesting, and that actually, frankly, gets me pretty excited for this controller because that's a really important thing, obviously, is feel. How does the controller feel in the hands? And I think some people are a little put off by how different the DualShock, or see, I already called it the DualShock, the DualSense looks compared to the DualShock 4 and past PlayStation controllers. It's definitely taking some risk by doing things very differently. But Pete Hines is sitting here saying that, look, once you use the DualSense controller, you're not going to want to use the DualShock 4. You're not going to want to use anything else. And that gets me excited, man. Like, I really can't wait to try this controller. And one other thing I want to mention about the DualSense that I didn't bring up in my previous videos has to do with the actual analog sticks. If you take a closer look, you can see that there's actually some textured grip around the edge of the analog stick, which is a small but, in my opinion, pretty important detail that I think will make a big difference, because that's actually one of the biggest issues I've had with the DualShock 4s. I do like the controller a lot, and I do like the thumbsticks. The only thing I don't like is how slippery they can be, and it always kind of felt like it could use some textured grip in that area, so I'm really happy to see that they did that. But we also have Robert Krekel, who I believe is the lead audio designer or technician for Naughty Dog, and he just pretty much does the audio for Naughty Dog, and this is what he had to say about the DualSense controller. He said, very stoked about the new controller for PS5. Lots of very cool opportunities integrating audio with haptic feedback. Got to play around with a prototype a long time ago, and possibilities are very exciting. So there you go. Obviously, the first party developers under Sony are going to be very excited about what they're going to be able to do specifically, because if there are any developers who are going to go above and beyond to really implement some really unique features into this controller, or find ways to implement them in a unique way, it's going to be the developers that are under Sony. And then finally here we have the founder of Ready at Dawn, Andrea Piscino. This is what they had to say about the DualSense. They said this controller is pure awesomeness. Just wait until you feel it, and I mean that literally. Now, that's yet another individual who clearly got to try the controller, and when they say they can't wait for you to feel it, they're probably not just talking about the, how it feels in the hand, but again, the haptic feedback and stuff like that. It sounds awesome. So there you go, guys. I just wanted to make this video kind of not only once again highlighting the Dualsense, but I really had to take time to talk about just how significant these numbers are that Sony is doing with their social media. It really paints a very clear picture, and that picture shows a lot of gamers who are very, very, very excited and very hungry for the next generation, and I'm just one of many. So yeah, I also wanted to take some time to highlight some of the things that developers were saying about the controller as well. And all in all, I'm very excited. I honestly can't wait now more than ever to see the console itself and to hear more about Sony's plans going into next generation. I have a good feeling that sometime in June is when we're going to see the big blowout of information, pretty much everything we're going to want to know about the PS5. That's my assumption anyway, but that's going to do it for the video. Let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. Leave the video a like if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already. Hit the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.